Level 1, the pickpocket. You're 17, $3 to your name. Hands still shaking on your way out of Penn Station with a stranger's wallet, brown Velcro. $7. A blockbuster card. Remember this moment, because in 15 years, this city will have a name for you, one that ends careers and empties rooms, and the man who gave you that name will come home to the vault he spent 15 years filling and find nothing in it but a playing card you left behind. Right now, though, you're just a kid who's bad at crime, and the man at the far end of the platform has been watching you be bad at it. His name is Marcus. 40-something, camel haircoat, no watch, shoes that don't make a sound, a man who owns nothing you could ever use against him. He saw you fumble the pick, and he wants you to know it. Your hands decided before you did, he says. In this business, early is the same as caught. He hands you a king of spades. Practice until it disappears. An hour later, a cop cuts across the platform, not toward you, just heading to lunch. But your whole body locks up. Everything except your hand. And the card? Gone. It vanished on its own before you decided to move it. Your fingers made the call and told your brain after. The cop passes. The card comes back. Marcus nods and puts you to work. 6 hours later, he counts the days, takes $63, hands you 18, keeps the rest. Overhead. You don't know what overhead means. You're 17, but you nod like you do. That wallet, he says, was worth more than what's inside it, just like you. And you think that's a compliment. That's the whole story right there. You just don't speak the language yet. Level 2, the burglar. Marcus gives you an address, a row house in Flatbush, family gone for the weekend, the way a man recommends a restaurant. You write it on a receipt and teach yourself to pick locks from a library book. Basic locksmithing, which you never return, making it technically your first clean job. That, and 3 padlocks from the hardware store. The third padlock takes you 47 minutes. The book says a real burglar does a deadbolt in under 2. You are not, at this stage, a real burglar, but you go. Bathroom window, latex gloves. The first 30 seconds inside a stranger's home, you can't breathe. Every tick of the floor is a footstep. Every headlight on the wall is a cruiser pulling up. Then the fear burns off, and you're just a kid in a dark house with a list and 13 minutes. The jewelry's right where the book said: sock drawer, coffee can, a box behind the sweaters nobody's worn since March. $840. No alarm. You're home before the last F train, heart still going. And here's what nobody warns you about. It's not the money. It's the quiet. A stranger's kitchen at 2 in the morning, the refrigerator humming, the microwave clock throwing green light on the floor. A kid's drawing of a blue dog under a strawberry magnet, and you the only thing moving in the whole house. You'll meet a dozen people in this business. For most of them, it's the money. You break in for the quiet. That probably says something about how you grew up. We won't get into it. Marcus takes 60%. Real estate, he says. You don't know what that means. You don't ask. You're really committed to not asking things. Second job. Different block, different family, except this one comes home 3 days early. You hear the car from the second floor, go out the bathroom window, drop 12 feet to a fire escape, and sit there. February. 40 minutes. The cold working through your jacket, one layer at a time, certain somebody heard you. Nobody comes. The one thing you grabbed, a man's watch, gold bezel, heavy, expensive feeling, turns out to be a $30 Seiko knockoff. Marcus takes 25 of it. $25. For his real estate. 3 months in, a free paper on the subway, a brick on the back page. Jewelry store on Flatbush Avenue robbed. $340,000 in merchandise. Same weekend as your first job. Across the street from the house Marcus sent you into. You fold the paper. You do the math. Your house was the east side of the block, the store the west. Cops hit your break-in at 11. The store alarm tripped at 12:47. 90 minutes with every cop in the neighborhood pointed the wrong way. Now a smart man gets nervous here. You decide it's a coincidence, on purpose, because the other option is that your $840 wasn't a job, it was bait, and you're not ready to be bait. Marcus has 3 more addresses lined up, so coincidence it is. That's the thing about a man who sets the price early. He already knows which lie you can afford, and he picks it for you. Marcus calls that afternoon. New address. Same bored, friendly voice. You write it down. You don't mention the jewelry store. Good boy. Level 3, the safecracker. October. The address is supposed to be empty. It isn't. A family came home early, and there's a kid in the hallway looking at you. You don't touch a thing. You go out the window, get on the subway, ride to the end of the line, and sit there while the train empties around you, Because where exactly are you going? The cops come 6 days later. 2 detectives and a knock. 18 months. Every month $200 shows up from Marcus. No letter, no card, no sorry I sent you into a house with a toddler in it. Just a money order that lands like a phone bill. You're not a person to this man, you're a line item. You do the math on what 18 months at $200 a month says about your life, and put that number somewhere you don't visit. Then prison hands you the one good thing it's ever given anybody. Prison hands you Sal. Sal is 61, Italian, and has been cracking safes since before your parents made the decision that led to you. Sal does not like you. He teaches you the way a man trains a raccoon that keeps getting into his trash not out of love, but because you keep coming back and it's easier than shooting you. His whole thing. You're not opening a box. You're listening to what's inside it. He teaches with his hands flat on a steel cafeteria table. Eyes shut, narrating a dial that isn't there left to the park. Feel the wheels drop one by one. Wait for the little give, that means they've lined up. When you rush it, he doesn't raise his voice. He opens his eyes and says, "You're talking. Listen," then shuts them again. For a year and a half you practice on safes that don't exist, 12 of them, every make and decade built in Sal's head from memory. He's named them. The 1972 Mosler he calls the Liar because its wheel pack sits half a number off and hangs anybody who trusts the dial. By month 6 you know the brand by the sound. By month 17 you're better than Sal said you'd be at month 1, the closest thing to a birthday party you get in there. 3 weeks before you're out, Sal describes the Liar to you, out loud, no safe in the room. On purpose, he picks the one built to make you fail and tells you to crack it in your head. 4 hours, you get it. He says, "Not bad, understand." That is the nicest thing anybody has ever said to you. 2 words from a convicted felon in a prison. And you'll carry them for 15 years like your father finally showed up to a game. And it doesn't strike you as sad. Not even a little. That's the part that should worry you, but you've got somewhere to be. Marcus is in the lot at 7 in the morning. Good coat, better watch, looking like he doesn't belong within a mile of a prison and couldn't care less. "I knew you'd figure it out in there," he says. Like he enrolled you. Like it was tuition. The job's a diamond dealer in Midtown. Saturday night, 90 seconds between guard sweeps, 3rd floor. A 1998 Gardel, a model Sal described in month 4. You know its whole personality. The sticky third wheel, the false gate that stops amateurs cold. You put your ear to the door the way he taught you, and the box tells you everything. 40 minutes. Fastest yet. 220,000 in loose stones. Your cut. 66. Marcus. You did the box, I did everything else. And you think, quiet, to yourself. I did 18 months. You did everything else. You don't say it. But it's the first time the math doesn't sit right. That card from the platform moves from your prison pants to the first new jacket you've owned in 2 years. Everything Marcus touched in between was overhead, and you start asking Sal's question about more than safes. Not what's in the box, why this box, this building, this night. Follow it far enough, and it points at one chair. Not the man who opens the safe, but the man who decides which safe, and when, and why, so nobody's looking at him while it happens. The invisible hand behind the visible one. You'll get there. It's going to take you 15 more years. You just told the whole audience the ending and didn't notice. Level 4, the cat burglar. Here's a fact about hanging 40 feet up a building at 3 in the morning. At some point, you stop being afraid of the ground. The fear becomes commitment whether you'll reach for the next hold before your brain signs off. Same thing Marcus called you on at the platform. Early is the same as caught. The thing that made you a pickpocket makes you a climber. You've been failing upward this whole time. Literally. 4 months climbing at night. Alone. Construction sites, drain pipes, fire escapes. You fall twice. Nothing breaks. November, Marcus brings you Tribeca. Private collector, 40th floor, glass tower on Franklin. Art, jewelry, a safe in the study. He hands you the building's maintenance schematics and the exact blind spot in the roof cameras 12 feet in the northeast corner. You don't ask where a man gets 40th floor schematics. You stopped asking that around month 3. Marcus has people schedulers, somebody who knows which cleaning crew hits which floor. A whole invisible staff you've never met and aren't meant to. File that away. You won't. 3 a.m. up the drain pipe, hand over hand, 40 stories of black glass dropping away below you. Halfway up, a bracket you've trusted your weight to shifts a 1/4 inch with a sound like a knuckle cracking. And for 1 second, the whole city is very far down and very interested in you. It holds. You keep going, the pause between surfaces is where people fall. 12 feet across the terrace on your forearms, and an unlocked window. Inside, dark, still, full of expensive things that have no idea you exist, a treadmill draped in neckties, a humidor, a family portrait where everyone's squinting into the sun. The safe's a 90s Chubb British rotary. You've read the manual and 2 tapes Sal recorded in 1987 because of course he recorded himself opening safes for posterity. Ear to the steel, dial cold under your fingers, you find the wheels one at a time. 22 minutes, new record. The alarm trips on your way out, a floor sensor that wasn't on the schematics and should have been. You take the east pipe instead of the north, rope to the alley, 4 blocks clear before the first patrol car turns the corner. 80 grand and some certificates. There was a cigar box of Eisenhower dollars Marcus told you to leave, too heavy, too traceable. You leave them. You're a man who follows instructions now. Next morning, the vault in that building's basement is empty. 2.3 million in bonds and cash. Same building, same night. Every guard had run up to the 40th floor when your alarm went off. You read it on a newsstand. You stop walking. You put your hand in your pocket and close it around the card. So you start a list. Addresses Marcus gave you. Dates. And the unrelated giant robbery in the paper a day or two later every time, a few blocks away, right in the window while the cops chased you. 4 entries. You don't know what you'll do with a list. But some quiet part of you has started building a case you're not ready to name. 80,000 felt like a lot of money right up until you found out what it was for. You weren't the job. You were the noise. You deposit your cut, Marcus calls. Clean job. Ready for the next level? You say yes. And 15 years from now, you'll be the one deciding which building, which night, which kid climbs the drain pipe while you empty the basement. You're just not ready to admit that's the goal. Let me say one thing and then I will not bring it up again. A lot of you asked how I make this style of YouTube videos, so I gathered all my tactics for starting a channel like mine in this guide. If you want it, the link's below. Now let's get back to the video. Level 5, the jewel thief. This one's yours. Nobody handed you the address. 6 months of surveillance, you run yourself a bench outside a 5th Avenue building at 6 in the morning. Learning the elevator patterns, the 7-minute window where the desk is empty and the monitors loop on nobody, the Annenberg collection. 40 years of one rich man quietly buying diamonds and sapphires and a few pieces the insurer has been politely pretending it can't locate. 2-man crew, your own people, none of them Marcus's. Night of the job. You're in the vault room 90 seconds, and every one of them is choreographed, the drawer that sticks, the tray lifted straight up so the felt doesn't drag, 3 pouches filled in the dark by feel. The kind of clean you only get when you've run it so many times you could walk the floor blind. You basically do. The exit runs through Midtown. You planned for cops. You didn't plan for a random traffic stop 2 blocks south, a car matching a description from the previous Tuesday. Nothing to do with you. The kind of thing nobody can plan around. It closes the corridor you'd staged. So you're on foot. 3 blocks, pouches under your jacket, legs burning, brain running a half-second behind your feet. You clock every parked car as you pass occupied, empty, occupied, walking at exactly the speed of a man who is not running. You take the subway you'd picked and surface 4 stops north before anybody knows which way you went. Your other guy doesn't make the train. Slow down here because this is the part you'll skip past for years. He got caught. 44 years old, a Corolla with a booster seat in back, and a St. Christopher on the mirror. And he never gave up your name, you know, because nothing from 6 months of surveillance ever shows up in the reporting, and a deal like that would have. So he ate it. For you. And you keep his silence in your pocket next to the card and tell yourself it's the cost of a corridor you planned badly. Which is true. It's just not the whole sentence. 2 days later, the central bank vault. 47 million in cash and negotiable instruments. Biggest single theft in the city's history. Same night as your job. 2 blocks from your building. You put the newspaper on Marcus's table. He looks at it. Looks at you. You're not asking about diamonds. You ask about the central bank? And Marcus, with real pride, the way a contractor talks about a machine that performs, says, "You were the best distraction this city has ever seen. Every cop in Midtown running at you. Every scanner in the borough pointed one way." A pause. "Which means the 2 blocks I needed sat empty for 2 hours. You ask about your cut of the 47 million. "You got your cut," he says. "The stones are already moved." You walk out. You're not even mad. That's the scary part. The list in your jacket is up to 8 now, 8 of your jobs, 8 enormous robberies a day or 2 later, each in the window you made. The central bank is just the first one he's admitted out loud. There's another 16 from before you started counting. That's a lot of somebody else's diamonds financed by your adrenaline. You were the most wanted man in the city. He was the least noticed man in it. And the thing you never calculated, out on the sidewalk while 8 million people walk past invisible, was always the better seat. You spent 7 years fighting your way into the wrong one. Level 6, the art thief. There's a Vermeer that's hung in the same spot for 11 weeks. On loan from the Rijksmuseum, a woman reading a letter by a window, light from the left. You've studied it long enough to know the Thursday night guard takes his break at 9:47 and comes back at 10:04, does the crossword in pen, and eats the same cheese Danish every night from the cart on the corner. You know the East Fire exit gives you 15 seconds before it trips the main board. You know this painting better than you know anybody in your actual life. Sit with that one later. 4 people, none of them Marcus's. The job runs 12 minutes. You practice the cut for 8 weeks on a canvas stretched to the exact size until 40 seconds felt long. In the room with the real thing 18 inches from your face, a woman reading a letter, painted before your country existed, your hands don't shake. The blade parts canvas from frame in one clean travel, and the 40 seconds feel long after all. 3 smaller pieces into a lined case. Every alarm in the building goes off on purpose. You need inside security to swarm before the cops outside can redirect. The whole building folding inward while you walk out the doors they abandoned. Federal response in under 8 minutes. National news within the hour. Every federal resource in the city aimed at one museum. Road closures, helicopters, the full circus. You're 2 states away before the first press conference. 3 days later, classified government archives gone from a federal building in Brooklyn. The theft window was 90 minutes, starting at 10:52 right inside the panic your museum made. Here's what gets you. You didn't give Marcus this job. You didn't call him. You planned it alone, from scratch, for 4 months. He used it anyway. Not because he found out ahead of time, because he doesn't need to anymore. Marcus has spent years studying how the city panics. He listens to the scanner for the codes that mean everybody's committed. He's mapped which streets go empty in the first 40 minutes of a full response. He just needs you to do something big enough to turn the city's head anything, and your reputation's been doing that for him for years. Your name hits a scanner, a room somewhere empties, and Marcus walks into it. He turned your legend into a machine, and you built the legend yourself. You've been working for this man even in the years you quit. The Vermeer ransom clears 11 days later, a quiet deal with the Dutch insurer, a blind middleman, 11 phone calls. And for one day, it feels clean. Your crew, your target, your money. The clean you've chased since you stopped taking his addresses. Then you read the report on the archives and understand the clean was a setup. You got a painting. Marcus got the classified records of a federal signals operation. The country's looking for you in 3 states. Nobody's looking for him anywhere. Nobody's even looking for the idea of him. Whoever controls the distraction can take anything out of any room it empties. You built yourself into the best distraction this city has ever produced. Now you're going to build the seat on the other side of it. Level 7, the heist planner. The Connecticut crew is 4 people, and the first qualification before skill, before references, is that none of them have ever heard the name Marcus. The vault's in a converted estate in Fairfield County. Old money, security installed in 1987 and never reconsidered. A very good door in front of a room nobody's counted in 11 years. 3 weeks out, a message reaches you through somebody you trust. It's from a woman named Elena. She's run the scheduling and routing inside Marcus's operation for 15 years, moving the money, keeping the books, signing every line in green felt tip and rounding off the cents. Because the cents, she says, are what get people caught, and she wants out. She doesn't want to be paid. She hands you a document, a manila folder gone soft at the corners from being carried a long way before it reached you. A ledger. 15 years starting the month after Marcus gave you the first Flatbush address. Every secondary job lined up against one of yours. Your robbery on the left, his real one on the right. Addresses, amounts, the fences the cops paid to look away. 15 of them. $418 million in takes you made possible and never saw. Your total for the same 15 years. $2.8 million. Do the division. 0.67%. Let that sit. It's not a percentage. It's a job description. You were so proud of being the best distraction in the city that you never did the arithmetic on what it was paying you to be one. You read it twice. You don't need a third. The Connecticut job runs perfect. 3.4 million. Clean split, no cops, no variables. And in the parking lot at 3 in the morning, cold coming off the fields, you wait for the feeling, the one after every good job since Flatbush. The quiet. The hit of I did that, and I did it clean. You stand there with the engine ticking behind you and your breath fogging and 3.4 million in the trunk, waiting. It doesn't come. Nothing comes. This is the moment a healthy person calls somebody. A friend, a therapist, anyone. But you're a professional criminal, so you drive home and lay the ledger out on the table because you've decided the right response to feeling dead inside is more paperwork. You are going to cross-reference your way out of depression, and the paperwork tells you everything. The earliest entry is dated 2 weeks after your first job. You were 19. Marcus was running his window before you knew there was a window. Every secondary job inside a 90 to 120-minute gap, the stretch where the cops are all in on your robbery and haven't started pulling back. 15 years. Not one miss. He found you at 17, and you never ran a job he didn't know about, couldn't use, or didn't profit from behind your back. He taught you the oldest lesson in the business the day he handed you a playing card on that platform. The face everybody sees is never the hand that's taking. You were the face. You were the reason everybody looked left while Marcus walked out to the right with everything. So now you teach him the lesson. From the inside. Level 8, the Phantom Thief. For 6 months you disappear. 3 other cities. Rooms booked under names you use once. Jobs that go cleaner than anything you've done. There's no second target. Nobody's timing to your clock. The window Marcus built his whole empire inside is empty, and for the first time in your career, you realize this is your best work. Nobody gets caught. Every split adds up. Not one address has a second reason under it. The feds start calling you the Phantom. Impossible thefts, no evidence, no suspect that holds. You're a rumor with a file. The cleanest version of the thing you've been building since the platform. And you're invisible, which is when it finally lands. Fame was the tax. In this work, fame isn't the prize. It's what you pay for being useful to a man who stays out of the picture. You paid it for 15 years and called it a career. You send word through Elena. Marcus comes to a coffee shop in Astoria. Alone. Relaxed. Nice suit. He orders a chamomile tea and never drinks it. Just turns the cup a quarter turn now and then, like he's adjusting the room. A man who's never had to run from anybody. I knew you'd come back, he says. You always come back. You lay the numbers out on the table between the sugar caddy and his untouched tea. Not as an accusation, as a receipt. Marcus reads 15 years of Elena's math, top to bottom, and doesn't argue a line, the way you'd read a well-built argument that happens to be against you. You were perfect, he says. Nobody in this city could touch you, and everybody was looking for you. That's the rarest thing in this business. So you ask the real question, what he'd have done if you'd been caught on one of those nights. Marcus thinks about it. Takes his time, like you asked where he wants lunch. I'd have moved to someone else, he says. That's the whole answer. 15 years, and he tells you to your face you were a rental car. And the part that should scare you. You're almost impressed. He respected you too much to lie. That's how little you meant to him you didn't even rate the courtesy of a good lie. Then he offers you Geneva. A private auction house, 80 million in art and jewelry, 2-week prep, equal split. Proof that after all of it, the ledger, the confrontation, 15 years of being bait, you're still standing in the exact spot you stood on that platform at 17. You tell him 48 hours. Outside, you buy a coffee from a cart and take the king of spades out of your pocket. 15 years of carry the corners soft, the finish worn where your thumb sits. A card a grown man handed a 17-year-old to size him up. And you finally get it. He was never testing your hands. He was setting your ceiling. Every job needs a face. He told you that first day. You thought it was advice. It was a job posting. The ceiling he set for you at 17 is still the highest you're allowed to go, and he's offering it to you today like a promotion. Marcus's vault is in a storage place in New Jersey. The address is in Elena's routing note. She mailed records there for 11 years. Cash, ledgers, the whole thing. And the 48 hours you asked for is exactly enough time to drive to New Jersey and back. Marcus spent 15 years teaching you the best seat is the one nobody's looking at. It would be rude not to let him try it. Level 9, the Master Thief. The tip goes to the Swiss through 3 middlemen. Just the crew, the auction house, the date. Marcus's name isn't on any of it. 8 people arrested on the Geneva runway before the auction house opens. International news within 2 hours. Marcus is already on the plane when it happens, So he lands to a phone full of messages and a mess he can't run from a hotel on another continent.
You're in New Jersey.
The storage facility is a converted industrial unit off Route 1. Anonymous. No neighbors, a small commercial operation, except for the vault door at the back of the second unit, which doesn't belong in a building where people keep their old couches. 12-digit electronic combination. You sit in the car outside for 20 minutes. Not fear what Sal called calibration. Every variable solved in the lot is one you don't face inside. Exits. Sightlines. The truck that passed twice and doesn't again. Then you go in. 28 minutes. 12 digits. And an electronic lock has no soul to listen to the way Sal's boxes did it, has a keypad, a lockout timer, and a penalty for guessing. So you don't guess. You go in behind the panel, into the wiring, and make the lock tell you the truth one digit at a time. Longest crack in 6 years. Not pretty slow and patient. The way a hard safe in a bad spot is a different animal from an easy one. Sal would have said, not bad. And that is still, after everything, the only scale that ever meant a thing to you. The vault opens onto 14 million in cash, banded in blocks on 3 shelves. A Rolex still in the box. A mason jar full of buttons, just buttons, hundreds of them, and you never find out why. And 17 binders, 1 a year. Every secondary job, every bought cop, every dollar to every dirty fence. The complete record of 17 years of invisible work. You take the cash. You take the binders. Then you photograph 43 pages of the worst of it and drop the copies in a FedEx envelope to a federal investigator whose name showed up in a corruption case 3 years ago, the one agent in the jurisdiction who appears nowhere in Elena's routing notes. The one person Marcus couldn't reach. The envelope goes in a drop box at 6 in the morning. The note says 3 words. Level the field. The King of Spades goes on the empty shelf where the first binder used to sit. Marcus is out of Swiss custody 11 days later. The Geneva charges don't hold his name was never on the manifest, and without the binders, nothing ties him to any of it. He flies back to New Jersey and opens his vault. Empty. One card on the shelf where his whole life used to be. He'll know who. He'll know there's nothing left to recover and nowhere to start. The invisibility was the only thing Marcus ever really owned, and the proof of it is in a federal evidence locker now. You're in a different city. A coffee shop. New name, new passport, a face nobody back home would know. Out the window, a kid works the lunch crowd outside Ace Barrow. Too much elbow on every reach. One batting glove on his grabbing hand like he saw it in a movie. Telegraphing the move before his hand commits. Hands that haven't learned yet what the distance between deciding and moving costs. You watch him. You don't go out there. Because some things you learn alone in a cell from a man who only ever said 2 words when you got it right. And some things you learn at 17, on a platform, with a stranger's card in your coat and a grown man taking 80% for overhead. And some things you never learn at all. That kid out there will find his own Marcus. They always do. You finish your coffee. The card's already gone. You palmed it a block back without deciding to, because the hands still make the call before you do. The king's chair was always temporary. You just got good enough at sitting in it that nobody caught you leaving. If you want stories like this, share, like, and subscribe, and let us know where you're watching from.